When you're working on a design project, I think it's important to find inspiration from a variety of sources. Today, I'm going to show you three of my favorite places to find inspiration and then show you how I would use it within a design project. Also, heads up that this will be my first time designing with these pieces of inspiration, and so you'll see my raw thought process and also see me make a lot of random mistakes along the way. So today I'm looking for inspiration for this progress indicator I'm working on for an upcoming Figma course. One of my favorite places to find inspiration first is called Mobbin. They're probably the best place to find UI inspiration because they only showcase apps that actually exist and are live in the App Store on Android and on web. And so I'm going to go ahead and look for some progress indicators here that I want to pull into my mood board. So you can filter really easily by different UI elements. One of the coolest things is that you can actually press this little check mark here and easily port over all these indicators into Figma with the press of a button. So I'm going to scroll a little bit and try to find a few different pieces of inspiration on this page. Remember that you don't have to like everything about your inspiration too. I think I'm being a little picky right now because I have a slightly picky visual style, but I found a few that might be good references for later. So I selected those two. I'm gonna try to find at least one more to add. Let's see if there's like one that's a little bit more fun and bubbly. Maybe we'll try that one up there. Or this one. Yeah, let's try, actually, let's try this one. Okay, so I have these three screenshots. I can go ahead and press copy to Figma. So my screens are now copied. Go to Figma. And if you open up the Mobbin plugin and hit paste, it might take a second. So it's loading, it's loading. Notice how my three screenshots all appeared here really quickly. So now I have these three screenshots from Mobbin all within my design file. I think it's really important to pull inspiration from non-UI design sources as well. Book Cover Archive is one of my favorite places to find graphic design inspiration. They basically have a bunch of different book covers from popular books, and so I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these into my mood board as well. So there's so many different pretty ones. I definitely am someone who judges a book by its cover. Oops, let's see, three. Ooh, I love this one. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and paste these into my mood board as well. This might take a second. I like the typography of this one. I love this design. The story behind these Nabokov book covers is actually really cool. You should definitely look into it. And the last place I love finding design inspiration is through art. So I think art has a lot of really great inspiration in terms of color, shape, and dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these screenshots from Judy Chicago's work and also pull it into my mood board. So I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this. Typically, also, if you have more time, which I don't because this is a video, I would also make sure to write down or paste where I got all my images from. It's good to have all your references in check. I think there's one more. Cool. So now I have 9 different pieces of inspiration from 3 different sources. So now that we have all this inspiration, I'm going to pick 3 at random and try to combine them together in my design up here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the 3 on the right, mostly because I think I like those the most. And you're probably wonder how in the world I'm going to combine these together. Well, typically I try to start small. So this is my original design. I think in this one, I really like this type of typeface, so I might try to pick something similar. Currently, my brain is going to this one called PP Woodland. It's by Pangram. So I might go ahead and change that up here. So you'll notice now I'm using that here. I also like how large the number is. And so what I might do, so technically this is 50% actually, but what I might do is I might remove this progress bar and instead I might add a really large number that showcases the percentage of completion. Right now I'm doing some auto layout magic, but notice how now we have the 50%. Maybe it's in a really bold or maybe it's light. Not sure. It could also be a lot bigger than the text here as well. So I have that there. Something else that I might try to pull in is I kind of like the circle element. So maybe there is a circle in the background that is half complete. So let's see how fast I can do this one. So maybe there's a circle and the arc is at 50% like this. And maybe there's like maybe it's like half colored or something, not sure. I actually don't know, maybe it should be facing this way. Yeah. Also not a fan of this color yet. You can do like a light pink or something. And since I'm mocking this up and kind of seeing what it looks like, I'm not going to worry too much about the alignment or the details quite yet. So maybe something like this. You can also try rounding the corners as well if that's something you're into. Not sure. It's not perfectly aligned because it's not as big. So maybe something like this, question mark. I think it's important to show the other side of the graph, and so I probably would go through and do something like this, and then make sure to select both of these elements. Right now I have a chaotic grouping going on, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and select going to my layers. So this is something I might be interested in exploring more. Since it's touching the edge so much, I'll probably go through and make this a little bit thinner so that it's a little bit less chaotic. Okay, I don't hate that. One thing that would be helpful here is if I grouped all these different elements together and made sure they were all aligned the same distance from the left. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. So notice how now it is the same distance from the left, but now I have this huge gap up here. And so I might experiment with different styles of alignment here to see what works. I might also try to make this overall a little bit smaller. It feels a little bit too chaotic right now in terms of the size. So I might make this ellipse a little bit smaller so it takes up less size, like this. So now it feels like it might be a little bit more evenly balanced. So that was me trying to pull some inspiration from the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and try pulling some inspiration from maybe this one next. So the reason why I like this one is because I love all these like random collage shapes, and I'm curious if I can do that with these check boxes. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to create a random collage of shapes. So it looks like these are 24 by 24. And so what I would do is probably draw a 24 by 24 frame like this. And I would zoom in and try to create a few different ones that I feel a little bit random. And so maybe there's one that's like a circle with a little square at the edge like this. And for now, I'll pick random colors. I'm planning to use the Judy of Chicago as a color inspiration. So that's why I'm avoiding color for now. But maybe there's one that looks like this. Maybe there's one with like multiple circles. When you're doing stuff that feels a little bit random, it can feel really hard because you kind of need to make sure that there are not as many patterns between different things, so it looks like it's actually random. And don't know if that makes sense, but for example, this pink circle being the same spot is not great, and so I'll probably try to replace it with a square instead. Let's try something like this. Maybe I'll make this one blue, like this. Maybe I'll make this circle purple. That's two. And then maybe I'll try one more that maybe is based off the star instead. So we have the star. Kind of see what else. So these are all kind of transparent too, which is kind of interesting. You could try one with like a ring style. I think some of them have ring styles. Some of them have multiple circles as well. Maybe there's like a box in the background. Not sure. And then maybe this one also has a star on top or something to make it look a little bit more random too. Maybe this one is also a stroke only thing. Okay, so no, let's do this one actually. We can make add another circle in this one that's stroke only to kind of make sure the stroke only theme is across all of them. Okay, I think something like this seems okay. So I don't know how this is gonna work in practice, but we can see. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the background on these. Again, I'm going to copy these over into these groups and see what it looks like. So that one is complete. This one is also complete. And this one is also complete. So mine, I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting. I think they're a little bit small. And so what I might do is I might increase the size of these elements a little bit just to make sure the visual weight is consistent. But that means I also have to adjust these as well. Cool. So I'm selecting these and also making them 32 as well. I think I selected the wrong thing. Maybe this one. Yeah. 32. So now this is where I'm at after taking the transparent things inspiration and pulling it into this module. Now I'm excited to pull in some of the color inspiration from this piece of art right here. So one idea is I might try to pull some of this like gradient action into this circle here. Not sure if it's gonna work, but it's all about trial and error. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. So I noticed that the edges are really strong and the center or like this area is less strong. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to emulate that here. Not sure how well it's gonna work, but you never know. So I'm basically putting hard stops next to each other so that it feels like they are bolder on the edges like this. Maybe the center one is a little bit less 100% and it's a little bit more of like a yellowish color, not sure. This feels a little bit random to me right now, and so what I might do is I might make it a little bit transparent, a little bit darker so that it looks like it's kind of like more multiplying into the background. Another thing you could try is there is like some like element of noise. So noise is basically like this grainy effect. So I could try, ooh, I can try adding a little bit of a grainy effect on everything. So I use this grainy effect generator, and what I can do is I can copy it as a layer on top of everything here. Right now it's looking very ugly because it's too big, but I can make it a lot smaller. And then I can also make it so that it is kind of a different style. So I'm overlaying it right now over everything. So you notice how there is a slight grain over the entire section, which is adding some texture. I'm going to leave that for now because I think it's visually intriguing. I'm going to try to incorporate the same color vibe into these shapes down here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to paste this creation I've created here. So it looks like I need to make this background white, but I'm going to go ahead and try to have a few different variations of it. So this one will be purple. So what I'm doing is I'm basically copying the color stop so that it appears multiple times. This one will be purple. I'm also going to copy this over to this here, but make the fill white. I'm going to try doing it for the yellow star. So again, here I'm going to copy this so it's yellow, yellow. The yellow isn't very strong, so I might have to go a little bit darker. Maybe we can try like an orange color instead, like this. I actually don't mind the yellow at the edges, but we'll keep it orange for now. And then we have this blue that I'm going to mess around with as well. I think maybe the blue can also kind of exceed, yeah, like this. So we can make these all blue. And I'm keeping the center that tan color for now. But this one I feel like might want to be like a lighter blue like this. Okay, so I'm going to bring this into this design here. And so notice how now I've pulled in some of these color elements from up there into my design down here. I can also experiment with like diamond gradients like this to kind of change up the texture a little bit, changing the angle of the gradient so it's a little wider. I might rotate it like this as well. This one here I think is a little bit thick, so I might make it a little bit thinner and then also use the same gradient like this. And this one I think has this blue background. So now I've kind of incorporated some of the elements from here into the shapes down here. One thing is that now they're a lot more faint. And so what I might do is I might bring back some of the strength of the color in this background so that there's more contrast. I'm gonna go ahead and change the opacity here to 100, maybe make it a little bit darker as well. Like that. And I think this one also needs to be a little bit darker as well, so I might remove the pink thing here and make it a little bit darker. So that's how I would end up pulling together these three very different elements into a final design. There's a lot of iterating to do here, but notice how I was able to come up with something really creative because of the wide range of inspiration that I used. Again, the three places I looked for inspiration were Mobbin, Book Cover Archive, and Artsy. Hope you have fun finding inspiration across many different sources. I would love to see what you do with the inspiration you find.